Okay, folks, before we get started tonight, I would just like to tell you all about the new Heart and Hand app, which has just launched. And for those of you who had the old one, it's been redesigned, completely done, so you just need to update that in your settings. If you go to the App Store or whatever one you use, the update should take place automatically. But for everyone else, if you haven't used it, it's an excellent little bit of kit. One of the great things about working with a company like Playback is all their technical boffins, and they've come up with a fantastic new app for us. Loads of great content on it, and obviously you can listen to the pods on it. There's also from time to time a little bit of exclusive content on there as well, so it's a good thing to have in your arsenal. You get news about Rangers, you'll be able to go to the Heart and Hand social media pages from there. It's a fantastic thing, and you'll be able to go and get it easily enough if you just go to app.ibroxrocks.com. That's app.ibroxrocks.com, and there it will be. Welcome to Heart and Hand Extra, the second show this week from the Heart and Hand flagship production area, and joining me to discuss an excellent win over Aberdeen is the returning Mr. Alex Staff. Hello, Alex.
Hi, David. How are you doing?
Doing better than I was on Monday when we spoke, and that's actually one of the reasons why I wanted you on tonight, Alex, because it did strike me that you've been the Red Adair of the pod. We've brought you on after many of the calamitous moments this season, and asked you to firefight a little bit. So I thought, do you know what? If anyone deserves a bit of a reward for their persistence and a performance, then it's you. And Alex, look, to get right into it, because we've got a lot to cover in this, and this is a shorter show, but I really, that was one of those performances where I thought, we deserved that, and thank you to the team for giving us that, because it was one of those occasions where our backs were against the wall, we weren't really expecting it, and not only did they deliver a win, which would always have been nice, but they delivered a cuffing against a hated rival and a performance as well, and they did it on a big stage in a live game on a Wednesday night. And it was, I felt, one of those kind of special nights and memorable nights that sort of live on a little bit.
Spot on, yeah. I do agree with that. That was a Rangers performance.
Agreed.
For that sort of term, that just one of those times it's not supposed to go that way. You just think we maybe underplay it slightly when we get this. But if you think about last night, we were missing our captain, we're missing our most talented midfielder, we're missing our top goal scorer, we're getting in there without a permanent manager, we're having to play the 19-year-old centre half who's not even played 10 first-team games for us yet in midfield.
Wow, isn't that amazing? See when you're saying that, I will come to that, but God, you think about that McCrorie and the maturity with which he played. But yeah, we'll come back to that, but go on.
Yeah, we've also got Carlos Pena, who's written off by most, seemingly written off by the management team up until last night as well.
Not by us.
Not by us, no, we were calling for that one, so we'll just take the credit where it's due, I think. But all of that combined up against an Aberdeen team where we're told, we've been told for last season and this season they're a better squad than we are. We've got Derek McInnes coming in as a seeming heir to the throne at Rangers, who looked very much outfought last night, his team. And yeah, it wasn't supposed to go like that. It was not supposed to go like that at all. Not only did we won well, and we didn't win well because they were poor. We didn't win well through luck. That was a completely deserved scalping.
For me, the key difference is we've started the two games that we lost that precipitated this sort of mood of crisis the same way. I felt that there wasn't a significant difference. We started both those games, more so Hamilton, but I thought against Dundee as well, as the better side. The difference, and this is maybe overly simplistic, and if so, you by all means tell me. I just thought the difference was we got a goal. And rather than lose the first goal and, for want of a better term, shit the bed, which is what's been happening, we got the first goal and then said, right, okay, this is our game, and took the game by the scruff of the neck. Aberdeen, I thought, were fortunate to get in at half-time, just the two down, in all honesty. The second half, there was that dip, and you could sense from the crowd that we expected there to be that dip. But having watched the game back this morning, it's interesting because I did a show on Patreon, and I did the YouTube chat after the game, and I mentioned that when you watch the game back without the heart in the mouth, and you know what's happening, you can maybe see things slightly differently, because when you're watching at the time, every time they come into your half, it's but they didn't really threaten an awful lot. If anything, they had slightly better chances in the first half when I felt we were more dominant. But in the second half, they didn't really cause as much bother in that spell. However, territorially, I thought they were starting to get a foothold till and we were dropping deeper, and that did concern me last night. And you're watching it, you could see us dropping further and further back. But then we got the third goal, and that ended it as a contest.
Yeah, you're right. The third goal was slightly against the run of play. They didn't really create anything that... I don't remember Fotheringham having to make a great save at all in the second half.
No, he didn't.
But from set pieces, as we kind of knew was going to come, they were very strong. They're a big, strong, physical side, and they've got players who can whip a good ball in. So we knew the set pieces would be a bit of a threat, and that proved to be the case. Aside from... Yeah, the first half, they definitely created better chances. Taverniers had to clear one off the line. Fotheringham got a bit of luck when he came out against Stevie May for that one. He was through. And then Gary Mackay-Steven decided to kick the ground first, which was kind of lucky as well, because that was a good chance. But yeah, the second half, they didn't create much. They got a lot of the ball, didn't create much. We got a third goal when the game was done. That was it. It was finished. We played it out like, a good, confident, strong side does. And it was fun to watch it. Don't forget as well, just for sheer comedy moments, Bruno Alves was that good last night that even when he wasn't looking, he was defending perfectly.
Yes.
That one that bounced off the back of his head.
Perfectly to Ryan Jack.
Beautiful moment.
Oh, it was outstanding. That's eyes in the back of the head stuff from him. But no, I didn't think watching last night, and it was reaffirmed by a second look, that it wasn't even that we had anyone who was not bad. Everyone was above that. Everyone was 7 out of 10 or above, and I was delighted just for the application. They all won their personal battles, with the exception of that 15-minute period at the start of the second half, which is something that is a recurring theme and will need to be looked at. Although you could argue that it's expected if a team's 2-0 down, especially a half decent side, they're going to come out against you. But we were first to the second ball all the time. I mean, in the first half, it was constant. If there was a loose ball, it was a Rangers player that was coming onto it. And, they played with an aggression, and they played with a fire to romanticise it. We try and break it down technically, but sometimes it's the intangibles. They played with a fire last night, Alex, that we haven't seen from them in big matches for goodness knows how long. Yeah,
we all questioned it. There wasn't too many fans getting into that game, if any Rangers fans getting into that game yesterday, confident about it. And that was mainly because, regardless of the fact that we know there's a bit of talent in the squad, we've all questioned their desire. We've all questioned just what sort of heart do they have. Have they got the pride there? And then you see the starting team, as I mentioned earlier, which was the very definition of makeshift. And people who think that Carlos Peña doesn't want to be here, there he is starting the game, a big game against Aberdeen. That sort of fear just grows. But every single one of them, you're right, every one of them just really wanted it last night.
Yeah.
It was almost, I don't know, it was almost as if they decided, Ryan Jack, there's no way we're going to lose this for him today or something like that. It was just something extra about it. Possibly, do you know what? It could possibly be the speculation surrounding McInnes, and just a little bit of kind of showing him who's the daddy, really.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to do a mea culpa, and quite happily do so, because on Monday night we were concerned about Graeme Murty after his interview the other night, and I think we were right to be. That wasn't just a disappointed manager. It wasn't a run-of-the-mill interview. It was one where the guy looked absolutely shattered and emotionally distressed. And I wondered, how the hell can this guy turn it round? Hoggy speculated, the players would react in a negative way, but clearly they didn't. And, maybe, and this is great for the future, because I'd like to think, I have no evidence of this, but I'd like to think that they saw that and saw what they were doing to a decent guy and decided, we're not doing that again. We owe him this. And I also want to praise Graeme Murty for his tactical decisions, which I thought, when I heard the team beforehand and I heard from a journalist that it was a diamond, because it looked like a 5-3-2. or a 3-5-2, however you want to term that. But looking at it, I was like, Windass up front, McCrorie and at the base of a diamond, Pena at the tip. What the hell is this? And it was perfect. So I'd buy a hat to doff it to Graeme Murty, because as bad as things were at Dundee, he turned it 180 with an excellent managerial performance, where not only did he get a response from the players, he got his tactical decisions right, he got his substitutions right, and I think, after having borne the criticism which was coming his way, which was deserved. I mean, I'm not saying that we go back and we say, we were totally wrong, but if you get the slagging and you get the criticism, the brickbats and the bows and arrows, then you deserve the praise when things go well. And I thought last night Graeme Murty had an almost perfect night in the dugout.
Yeah, it was. No mistakes at all. Even the substitution of Pena in 65, a couple of guys sitting in front of me were slightly disappointed by that, because he'd been playing well, but we had to change shape, just to get a kind of foothold back in the game and the way Aberdeen were playing. Perfect, excellent. He brought on Candace. We moved Windass wide, shoved Miller up top, and we started to get our foot back on the ball a bit better. He got everything right. Everything that we've complained about beforehand was all dispelled in that one performance. Now, I know, to put a slightly negative slant on it, it's only one game, but we didn't think this squad or Graeme Murty had that in them.
No.
We didn't think that. So it's nice to see that it is possible. And yeah, hey, you might as well enjoy that one game, even if that's all it's going to be.
Absolutely.
Might as well have the good feeling from that.
Yeah, that's unapologetically positive after that, and we deserve it. Us fans deserve it.
Yeah, sorry, just to slightly go back on your point, you said that you would like to think that everyone saw what they were doing to the guy and they reacted positively. It was rather telling last night that straight after the game you had Jonathan Johansson's wife, you had Alice Hedworth, who works on Rangers TV. It was really happy for these two, really happy for this guy. The tweets about Murty and Johansson and stuff like that. I think somewhere there has been a feeling of, what? Come on, for guys, let's get a finger out, because we're actually breaking him here, and the players responded really well. And Jesus Christ, Jason Holt, I think, might have fought everybody in the stadium if it meant he'd get the 3 points. He would really epitomise just that sheer desire in the team. Never stop moving, never stop booting. Kenny McLean will be wondering why he wants to sign for his amount of times he get rattled by Jason Holt.
I thought excellently on that note. I thought excellently combined with Ryan Jack, who was similar. Ryan Jack was not losing that match last night. It just was not going to happen. And obviously there's the ex-club thing, but it was interesting that the Aberdeen fans, tried we're going to boo him every time he touches the ball. After 20 minutes, they weren't booing him anymore, because it was pointless. That guy was in the zone.
Yeah, he won that battle on and off the park. They lost the heart to boo him very, very quickly, because it was pretty clear that he was just going to win everything anyway. He absolutely scalped their midfield last night. Really, really great performance. As you said, every one of them won their battles. In fact, so much so that McCrorie's won his battle so much that Ryan Christie's now suspended for the next game, because he took such a big huff.
Yeah.
The way the young boy was bossing him. So, it just was one of those nights, you're right.
I do want to talk about McCrorie in a wee bit more detail, because I thought his performance last night was exceptional, and not for the first time. And after a couple of disappointing performances, the temperament that he has, I think, is ideally suited. For a professional footballer at a big club. He's very calm. He plays each game. He doesn't play the occasion, and he doesn't shrink in the shirt. He goes out and he plays the match that's in front of him. And he played with a maturity and a solidity last night that was exceptional in a boy that, as you say, doesn't yet have 10 first-team appearances. And now, we've had plenty of young hopes in the past, and of course it can fizzle out and whatnot, but there is something about this guy, Alex, that makes me think that we really, really might have something special there.
Yeah, you just used the exact phrase I was going to use. There's just something about him, a little bit different. This isn't a I feel harsh saying it. This isn't like a kind of flash in the pan, Chris Buck 6 months looking great and the rest of the time not really being able to do it, or something along those lines. This is more like you're looking at this kid thinking, hold on, this could be the real deal here. This could be, I don't think he'll ever be this sort of class, but this could be a Barry Ferguson type coming through, just absolutely brilliant. And I think last night his maturity showed at his best. He got a booking in the first half, and he's playing in a position where he's having to go into challenges constantly, and it never affected him. He didn't start pulling out of stuff. He didn't, do that thing that a 19-year-old could quite often do, dive into another daft one later on and get a second yellow. He took his yellow card, changed his game up a little bit, and still absolutely bossed it. And in the second half, he was clearly just dominating the game, just brilliant.
Oh, it was an exceptional performance. And before we sort of move off individual performances, a guy who has been criticised, deservedly so, and when I saw the team lines last night I was like, really? But I thought Josh Windass terrorised the Aberdeen back three, especially when it was a three, because, and we're going to come to this because we don't normally focus on opposition managers, but given there's a very good reason to focus on this one, that back three was disastrous against what we had last night, because Pena drifted into the spaces. Miller and Windass continually took them out wide where they did not want to go, which allowed Pena obviously, but Jack and Holt as well to stream into the spaces, and they were completely lost. I mean, the Rangers front line completely dominated them, and a big part of that was the amount of times, I'm watching it back again, this really impressed me. Windass got the ball with his back to goal, turned his man and went for them, and they shat themselves. That back three shat themselves every time he did it.
Yeah, as much as some of his final product wasn't quite there last night, his movement, his running, it really stretched them. They didn't know what to do with him at all. They had no clue whatsoever. It was just a real shame he was just offside for that goal, because he deserved one for that performance last night. I'm hopeful that people can see a little bit more in him. Obviously I kind of defended him recently to a bit of a reaction. I'm hopeful after last night and the last few games actually that people can see there's a bit of a player there. He's going to be inconsistent. He's not the finished article by any means, but if he keeps showing like that, he'll quickly change a lot of minds, I hope.
Well, moving on, because as I say, it is the shorter show, and we've got a lot to pile in. It's the same the other night. We ended up going an hour and 20. But I do want to talk about Derek McInnes, because strong indications are coming out from Ibrox way that Derek McInnes will be the next Rangers manager and will be appointed next week. And by the way, I have to say that I think taking 6 weeks to appoint the guy we all thought was going to be appointed on day one, but only after hopefully cuffing his team twice, could not be more banter years, could it? No,
that really is peak. Hopefully, potentially, we'll just end in the banter.
Yeah, hopefully that's it. We'll that's it's completely done. Interestingly, Derek McInnes signed for us in 1995 on this day. So everything old is new again. But if it is Derek McInnes now, something that, if you go on the Aberdeen boards, which you should do today because it's really funny, but one thing they've said, one thing I've noticed, is he has a tendency to meddle, I think, at times, and overthink matches. And I thought we saw that a little bit last night when they went to a back three and it didn't work. And credit to him, he changed it after 40 minutes when he put on Gary Mackay-Steven, who later he took off for an early bath, so I hope that the police helicopter found him safely. But he's done this before, and Rangers took massive advantage of it last night. Now, this is not a new thing for Aberdeen. Aberdeen have a terrible record in Glasgow, and we saw that even last season with under Mark Warburton's side, who weren't playing well, and obviously there was that defeat, but I think the malaise that set in at Rangers at that point played a large part in that, and even then they were a little fortunate to get that win that night. But this is maybe a slight concern about a guy who some people and some sheep feel is maybe more of a, shall we say, a physicality and a set piece manager. And occasionally when he goes to try to be too much of a tactician that he struggles and it sometimes backfires on him.
It seems to. There seems to be mounting evidence against that. I would ask this, and I've obviously been vocal's not quite the right word, but I've obviously not been a huge supporter of McInnes since the job became available. I would ask this: has any Rangers fan ever said they want him in because they think he's going to do a great job? Has any Rangers fan said they want him in because he's going to get us playing nice football? The phrase that tends to come up all the time is he'll steady the ship,
which I think he will. You know, if he's the man to come in, I genuinely believe that we'll see less of the Dundee and Hamiltons of this world. I really do believe that. Whether or not we can then make the jump, but we will be at the level that at least we feel we should be by right, if that makes sense.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, and maybe, I don't suppose there's much wrong with that, but they're talking about this being a three-year appointment. I don't know if you've seen Graeme Murty's comments before the game talking about, you know, Rangers are taking their time over this because where we need to be in 5 years' time. So are we hiring someone? Are we saying this guy will get us to a nice solid second place? We're really not sure about his ability to make a jump up, but don't worry about that. You know, for the next few years, we'll just take second. I don't think that's what they're saying with that, but I'm also concerned that, you know, it's a slightly uninspiring choice just because no one really seems to get excited by it. It's more a sort of like, he'll get us playing, you know, get us hard to beat and stuff like that, which isn't maybe not what we need. In fact, I tell you what, David, here's the thing. I'm curious to see your opinion on. I believe there's like 4 types of teams that win the league. You've obviously got best manager, best squad, type 1. That's an obvious. Type 2 being the team with the best squad, so the manager doesn't matter. Think Celtic under Ronnie Dyler. Type 3, good enough squad to compete, but the manager's so damn good he gets a bit more out of them. Think Sir Alex Ferguson, Sir Walter Smith, done that in his second spell.
Absolutely.
And then type 4, the ones that's just a total freak, Leicester.
Right, yes.
So, yeah, you get that now and again. So, we're not going to... Our financial situation is such that it's very unlikely that we're going to have the best squad anytime soon. So that rules out option 1 and 2 from what I just said. So that leaves us free, having the best manager in the league and a squad close enough that said manager wins us it, or type 4, a total freak win. Is Derek McInnes in any way a better manager than Brendan Rodgers? I'm not even comparing that against, you know, I'm not even going to say because he's record against Rodgers, because that's unfair given the disparity in the resources. But there's nothing in McInnes' career, nothing at all that suggests he's going to get be a better manager than Rodgers. That's what we need to be aiming for. And I'm just concerned that, you know, even looking at last night, McInnes do you know what it reminded me of? McCrorie during his absolute worst. He changed his system about 5 times during that game.
Yeah.
Kenny McLean played about 3 different positions, as did Graham Shinnie. I'm not saying that was, you know, that he's an ex-McCoist in any way, of course not, but it was reminiscent of that, where you were just like, he's no answer to what we're doing. We're not exactly, you know, doing anything major revolutionary. He fell into exactly the same trap a couple of weeks ago with Motherwell, who played a diamond midfield and scalped them at Tawdry. And, you know, you have to wonder, why so much overthinking? Surely Aberdeen should have been coming into that game with the mindset of, we're going to play our game and we're going to change this up because we're better than them. Surely they should have been coming in with that last night, given everything.
I think there's something in the psychological makeup of Aberdeen that, because of the way that the fans interact with each other face to face, and there's not a lot of interaction geographically as there may be between, say, Rangers and Celtic fans, that Aberdeen fans and Aberdeen as a club have a psychological flaw about playing in Glasgow, and have had, I would say, since at least the mid-90s, when regular scalpings began to occur. Because up till that, in my childhood anyway, Aberdeen coming to Glasgow and winning was routine. You know, it was something that Ferguson had changed, but it had been in their mind previously. If you read back in any histories of Aberdeen, Bob Crampsey wrote a good one, that up until Ferguson arrived, that was the mindset. And I think that he changed it and it stayed there for about 10 years afterwards. But by 94, 95, it had gone. So you need to take that into account as well. I agree. I mean, I think that the idea of changing, when you saw the team that Rangers had out, why you wouldn't just tell your lads to play what they usually do, that surprised me. We don't know their situations with injuries or whatever, but I do know that the Aberdeen fans were a bit surprised to see that lineup and to see the way that they shaped up. And as you say, it reminded me. You spoke of Alec. It reminded me of Alec McLeish at Tynecastle one time, where he lost 1-0 to George Burley's Heartside, where we started with a novel formation and did literally change 3 times in the first 30 minutes, and you could see it. So it's never a good thing. I wonder if, and I understand this after getting burned by it, that the board have tried the swing for the fences appointment, and now they're going, we're not going to get the home run in one hit. We're going to need to, knock it and get 4 singles, if I can use that analogy.
Yeah.
To get round, and they're going for a guy who's going to comfortably be able to get us to the level that we need to get to. If you like, he's not going to take us where we want to go, but he's going to take us up the road. We're hitchhiking, and maybe this guy will get us halfway, and Personay will get us. And maybe if in 2-3 years' time the club is stable, we've earned more money, we've got into Europe, we will be able to attract a better class of player and a better class of manager the next time round. Now that is, you're right, a strange thought process for when you're hiring a brand new manager, but it's maybe something in the back of their mind. And I think we've said often enough that they can't do another left field risky appointment. The amount of candidates are limited, not just up here. You look at England, look at the managers who've been hired down there this season, Big Sam, Alan Pardew, Roy Hodgson. So, and we all know that if a club's struggling, the next one they'll hire is Tony Pulis, regardless of his recent travails. So the conservative decision-making approach is not unique to us. And I think you saw it. As to your point, and it's a very good one, I agree with it incidentally, I suppose it comes down to whether or not we think that this Derek McInnes is the finished article and this is as good a manager as he is, or if, like players, they can develop at a better club, at a bigger club, with more resources, with better training facilities, etc, etc. Now, in his defence, I think that Derek McInnes has shown a very good eye for a player on his budget. I think that when he doesn't do the overmanagement, he's very good at finding players to fit a certain system, and complement each other. So you would hope on a slightly bigger canvas, if he was to do that, then we might be able to get something. And then, there's maybe, if you like, an addendum to point 4, which is when a team shouldn't win the league but do because they have a solidity and there's maybe problems on the other side. Because at some point, Celtic's arc is going to end. It should have ended last night in terms of the defeats, and it's coming, and you can see that from the result. And, we've seen the peak of that side, I think. And it can be like 10 in a row season, 97, 98. I remember where that Celtic team shouldn't have beat us to the league, but in a way, the combination of their, if you like, stolidness and our downswing kind of intersected at the point that was able to take them into first. So, I mean, that at the moment it's all up. We don't even know if McInnes is getting the job. As I say, it's likely, but we don't even know. But it does come down to whether or not you believe he can develop as a coach. When Derek McInnes arrives at Ibrox, if Derek McInnes arrives at Ibrox as manager, he does not start off as the best manager in that league, no. Then what you have to wonder is, can he develop into, or is he the finished article as a coach? That's as good as he's going to be and nothing's going to change. And I don't know, I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I would hope if he's the next man that he can improve. I just find that to be somewhat rare. Overall, I think you can tend to tell quite early in a manager's career if they're going to go a bit further or not. And obviously sometimes you get that wildly wrong. But you mentioned all the managers in England there. They all get hired for exactly the same jobs year after year. It's difficult to say any of them are ever improving, or kind of showing a bit better the next time round or anything like that. So sometimes managers just get to a level quite quickly, and that's that. That probably happens more often than not. So statistically, you would worry from that. I hope so. I hope hopefully he comes into Rangers that's getting them a better backing than both Warburton and Kashinya had when they took the job. I think that the next manager's actually got a better situation than the last two, so that alone should help him. If he can just concentrate, as he should be able to, on first team affairs and doesn't have everything else that's going on, now that we've got a structure in place, that might help. Because he doesn't have that quite so much at Aberdeen. So maybe the extra distractions up there are part of the reason why his coaching side of things can take a bit of a dent at times. But yeah, I hope he can improve. It's certainly possible. And yeah, we're also in a situation we can't sign finished articles on the park, so it's maybe a bit unrealistic to expect them off it as well, to be fair.
I think for me, the thing with Derek McInnes, Alex, is that he's not somebody, I think, who can fulfil your dreams, but nor is he somebody who's going to cause you nightmares. And I think that's what he is, and that's maybe why we keep coming back to this kind of solid but unspectacular thing. Because under Warburton there were points we could dream. When Pedro was appointed and the way he spoke and whatnot, there were points that we could dream. I don't think you'll ever get that under Derek McInnes. You'll always be grounded in reality, but equally I don't think he's going to oversee many out-and-out disasters either. So it's a strange one, because Rangers are appointing potentially a manager that their fans aren't massively excited about, from a club whose fans aren't massively disappointed to lose him, and yet it seems a very sensible move. It really is a conundrum. It really is an odd situation.
I think you were right in saying what you said earlier. If we're limiting ourselves, and Dave King's comments today suggest that if we're looking for someone with experience of Scottish and British football, right now the talent pool is very shallow there. And then add in the limitations that we've got in terms of wages or that we're able to pay, things like that. Yeah, it does seem like the obvious, sensible choice. It's just, not the inspiring one, and maybe that's good. I don't know. I'm one of those guys that thinks it's going to take a few years anyway. So your point earlier about him getting us up so far up the road, and then maybe someone better coming in if he doesn't kick on to a higher level himself. That's that I'm not entirely against that. It's just that I know that the vast majority of fans are far more worried than I am about Celtic winning 10 in a row. I'm not saying that my view is any more correct. It doesn't quite wind me up as much as it seems to with others. And if Derek McInnes is a 2 or 3 year stopgap before someone better comes in, we're running it a bit tight, So there's that side of things. I don't think we can. If and I'd imagine Dave King wants to. If Dave King wants to stop Celtic winning 10 in a row, then he should really be looking at this managerial appointment now being the guy who can do that. And as things stand, I'm just not convinced McInnes is that guy.
I've got to say though, I share your thing. It doesn't count. It's not 10 in a row, and Rangers fans getting annoyed by it, I don't understand, because Celtic fans can kid themselves on about it. Because they claim we don't exist, it's so fuck it. Yeah. We can't make decisions based on the fantasies of Celtic supporters. It doesn't count. Nobody cares, and if we allow the narrative to be set by that, then I think it's going to do us more harm than good. So no, for me, just concentrate on being the best Rangers we can be. It was the same last night when people were saying, Celtic have equalised. I don't care. Rangers played well, and that's all that matters. It's only about what we do, and we got the result. Of course, Celtic's penalty was laughable, but I think on a night where our third goal was probably offside, then let's just enjoy what we did and move on. Now, Alex, how does this affect Sunday? Because this is a unique situation. We've seen clubs where the manager's maybe just been about to go to another team, play each other. That's happened before, but not twice in 3 days just before it happens. This feels unique.
It is. Yeah, I can't think of one off the top of my head like that. So as such, I'm not going to try and factor that in, if I'm honest. I'm going to factor in a couple of things that have been going on. Aberdeen haven't lost 2 league games in a row in over a year. We saw them get an absolute scalping off of Motherwell in the quarter-final of the League Cup, and then play Motherwell again a few days later and beat them in the league. So we know that McInnes, he must be able to learn lessons if he doesn't lose consistently at any point in the last year, and he's able to turn it around against the same team. I know he lost against Motherwell again later, but that was much later rather than the very next game. So he can certainly learn lessons. He's got a decent squad there. We're travelling to their place. It affects Sunday from us only in the sense that we've gained a bit of confidence from that performance, and hopefully some players will be able to maintain that and kick on. But ultimately, our expectations should be round about the same. And I would imagine before the kick-off last night, our expectation on Sunday would have been pretty low. You know, we shouldn't expect much more, but we've given ourselves a bit more hope to go beyond that, I would say.
I think conversely, we spoke about Aberdeen's mental flop at coming to Glasgow. Then I think it's different when they get people on their own patch, which is common throughout football. So their fans will be up for it. But I do think that the whole McInnes situation colours this match. I think it will create a slightly strange atmosphere, and I think that for this Rangers team, I could just keep playing this over and over, but it's true. If we get the first goal, it's so key, it can alter the atmosphere. If they get the first goal and we look a bit shapeless, as can sometimes happen with us, and a bit panicky, then I really believe that this game, even more so than far more so than I believe last night's, is really a pick 'em. I think it just comes down to on the day. I think Aberdeen and Rangers could play each other, home and away over the next 6 weeks, and you could get any combination of results at the moment, because I think you've got two teams who, for various reasons, have things in their head that affect the match, and it could come down on Sunday to, as I say, something as simple as who gets the first goal, gets the bounce, the rub of the green, and goes on and takes the game by the scruff of the neck. I'd imagine their players will, on a personal level, have their pride wounded at the way that they were bossed by those Rangers players. So I'd expect them to be fired up, and they are a physically imposing side. We are a kind of small side generally, with the exception of the odd one or two players. So I would expect them to be a bit more fired up. Tactically, you would expect them to go back to the way they normally play. For us, will we have different players back? Morelos might be back. Will we play that same system now they've seen it? There's so many variables in this match. It could go either way. I think if we score early, I think we go on and beat them, believe it or not, handily. I think if they score early, it could go the other way. It's such a tight one to call.
It is, yeah, but at least we've put ourselves in a situation with last night where, even if getting beat at Pataudry happens to some great Rangers squads, never mind this one. So at least we've put ourselves in a situation where we're not getting in there looking at dropping 12 points behind them if it happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're right. I think an early goal makes a big difference to this team. It really does. All of our performances have shown that so far, or even just the first goal, not even just an early goal, but the first goal. I would imagine the away fans are going to have a bit of fun singing Derek McInnes' name, which will be quite funny to see his own fans booing the away fans doing that. Yeah. Because even if he's not the man that's going to be announced, we probably won't hear anything further until next week. So that speculation is only going to mount, and the fans will have a bit of fun with that. So yeah, you're right. The only reason I was discounting all of that was just because I have no idea how it's going to affect it. I'm looking at the other things which we have seen in the past, and we do have a bit more of a handle on. I'd imagine Aberdeen will play a hell of a lot better, and I think we're going to have to play even better than we did last night if we want to win the game, and that would be difficult given the level of performance that we gave last night.
I think so. I think we need at least 6 or 7 of those players to hit those levels. But then you introduce Morelos back into the side. That's a bonus for us. That's a great option for us to have. And I like the way that if the guys win their individual battles, which they've shown they can do, then we're in with a really, really good chance. But who knows? I'm going to pick a draw, because I genuinely do think that it wouldn't be a bad result for us given the other one. And in a game like this that's so tight, I'm going to go. I think it might be a bit of a thriller, and I fancy it to be maybe 2 each.
Okay, do you know what? I'm just going to do the same as I've done for the Wednesday game. I'm just going to say we're going to win this one. No, 2-1-1 actually, but as you say, a bit of a good game, a nice open game of football. I think we'll see both teams have a go at each other, and we'll just edge it. And part of that, hopefully, will be about just having another good performance, some confidence from last night.
Be great though if it was 2 each at the end, 5 minutes to go, and he took off his goalkeeper and put on a centre back.
That would be perfect, yeah. Throw Adam Rooney in goals for the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, that would be cool. I would appreciate that. But moving on then, of course, there was something else massive happened this week at Rangers, which was the AGM, which took place today, Thursday, as we were recording, at the SEC, as it's now known. They've dropped the C, as of we now that Scott's left. But not an awful lot of concrete developments. But the book says... Andy, our podder, had mentioned a couple of weeks ago, are looking decent. The main sort of plus point of that in the chairman's statement was the breaking of the deal with Sports Direct. There wasn't really a lot in the way of huge announcements. I felt that in terms of things, maybe the fans had been pushing to Celtic to move from the Broom loan. That was something that the board... I think were lukewarm at best to. There was talk from the board about or a commitment to have talks with Club 1872 about supporters' representation, although they're feeling that they're not at the point at the moment where they can appoint independent directors to the board. And I thought that Dave King was quite combative, quite spiky. Some people, and myself among them, felt that there was certain kind of Murray-esque traits of, we're the board, you need to let us be in charge, because he spoke at the start about the difference between emotional shareholders, who are people like me and you, who buy shares not ever expecting or caring about a return, but to because it's our club, and the demand for success on the park, and then institutional shareholders or other type of shareholders who expect a return, a financial return, and that how it's the board's duty to look after both of those, and that they can't be forced into quick decisions. They also defended the appointment of Pedro Caixinha and the process it took, and the length of time that it's taken to appoint a new manager this time. He feels that no criticism was due to the board over the appointment of Pedro due to the process that they followed was solid. And he also spoke about the way that the system has been changed at Ibrox, as you touched on earlier, with the director of football and a full scouting team has been put in place, so progress has been made there. Alex, what were your thoughts on the AGM?
Certainly didn't go down well with a number of the fans, did it? You're right, there was nothing major come out of it. Yeah, we're talking about new retail deal negotiations starting, things like that, but we kind of knew that was coming anyway. Just having a time scale on it now doesn't really make much of a difference there. There would have been hope for a bit more clarity around the new manager, and that's possibly been done through comments and hints and all the rest of it. But not, nothing absolutely solidly concrete that fans could take away from it. It's still a bit speculative. Overall, yeah, it wasn't. I wonder if they knew there was a chance it was going to be quite a difficult one, and they've went there with their backs up before it's even started.
I got that impression. That they saw it as something to be got through, as opposed to something to be used as an opportunity. Which we spoke about in the pod on Monday. That can happen when you're in a role in a very demanding customer base, and I felt, I would agree with that. I thought that's what they did.
Yeah, they've been a bit, in the trenches straight away, which tends to, let's be honest, Dave King loves that, I think. He likes that little bit of confrontation regardless of who it's with. I defended on one of the pods earlier, I defended the process when it comes to the hiring of the manager. As I said at the time, just because Caixinha wasn't the right man doesn't mean the process was wrong. So with that, I can totally agree with him. Laboured the point about the non-emotional shareholders, or however he put it. That he went on a fair bit about that, and I think he's trying to warn us that we're not quite there yet in terms of being self-sustaining without coming out and saying everybody panic if this guy leaves. I think that's kind of what the point was there. He's like, look, I've got some people I need to keep happy here to keep the lights on. So, just try and remember that. It's the sort of thing. I think the AGMs over the years, I mean, you're right, David Murray set a tone with them. When was the last good one?
I mean, I think that we've seen the nadir, and I don't think today was anywhere near that. I think that there are situations where I think for all companies, I mean, being a bit of a sad bastard, I've watched other company AGMs over the years, fascinated particularly with companies that are, that do well and then grind to a halt quickly, and they're always like that. You don't get revelations, you don't get dramatic intercessions where someone says j'accuse and brings it doesn't really happen, with the exception of when they're on an island for their own protection and Bomber stood up. It doesn't really happen. So possibly, yes, it's a case of maybe unrealistic expectations of what can be achieved in these situations. And I mean, I agree with you. I think King is a spiky guy. I think he does like a bit of a battle, and I think that's, and I can totally understand that. I think that's at times my approach is I'm the type of guy who does better when he's got something to kick against, as opposed to when you've then won the battle. In this case, he's in The Godfather, that sometimes you need a wartime consigliere and sometimes you need a peacetime consigliere, and some guys are better at one than the other. I mean, I do think there was that, and I think some fans, because of the old Murray era and because of the spivs, even though I don't think anyone considers this lot even comparable with the last lot, but I do think that some fans take that as, if you like, almost a patronising attitude of, you lot got over emotional, shut up, sit down and let us experts get on with running the club. And I don't think it's that. I mean, I really don't. I don't think this board are contemptuous of the support, although there may be one or two individuals around the club who are, but I don't think that this board as a whole are. But I do think that they believe that they know better than the average fan. And I suppose the counter argument is, well, it's their job to, and they should, because if they don't, then what are they doing in those positions? But against that, I can understand the frustration of fans who maybe feel that after coming in on the back of fan populism and with promises of transparency and whatnot, that they're not getting that from the board. So I think it's one of these situations where possibly there's right on both sides and also maybe wrong on both sides.
Yeah, that seems fair. It's potentially unrealistic expectations from both. We expect maybe a bit more than we really should from them, and they probably expect more from us than they should in terms of patience or an understanding of those sort of business aspects of a club, which 99% of fans don't really care about or would rather not care about. We were forced to care about them for a long time.
Yeah.
We would rather not. We just want who's going to be our next manager, what we're looking at with signings, is anybody stopping Carlos Pena drinking 10 pints a night? That's our concerns. So, they maybe are unrealistic in their expectations in terms of, they maybe think those concerns shouldn't be as big to us as they are, but that's not true either. So yeah, I think you're right. I think on both sides there's right and wrong there. I would hope, after everything the Rangers have went through, that no board is ever given an easy ride by the fans ever again. No matter how good they are, I would hope that we're consistently questioning the process, what the longer term future is and everything else, because there was a slight bit of complacency about the fans at the time of Murray's exit and White coming in. There was a little bit of complacency, and we've learned a lesson, and I hope we never do that again. So yeah, as much as I'm saying there's never been a good AGM, blah blah blah, possibly there never should be again. We should be asking questions of everybody, and maybe not such a bad thing to have this slight divide. They're not. I suppose let's take it positive this way, David. They could tell us what we want to hear, no problem. They're smart enough to do that. They could tell us what we want to hear. David Murray done it for years.
Mm-hmm.
And kept fans on side by doing that. He could tell us we want to hear, no problem. They're not doing that. They're trying to be a bit more realistic with the expectations, trying to temper that a bit. And yeah, it pisses us off, but probably better to be a bit pissed off in this situation than it is to be just placated, you know.
Well, I mean, to give you an example, the Royal Bank of Scotland, if you go back and look at their AGMs over the years, where everything was happy-clappy because everything seemed to be going so well, they had a powerful figure in charge, and their shareholders, who were all institutional, and they were in it for a profit, they nodded through everything. In fact, they nodded that company into the hands of the government. Because that's what can happen. So you're right, it is a forum for question. We should always question the board as a support. Now, obviously, given my background, troublemaking supporters rep once upon a time, I'm clearly going to lean towards that. But that's what I believe. I believe that the club's fans should always ask more and always say, that's great, but what's next? And I do believe that that's a reasonable expectation for a board to have. And while sometimes it might go off, that's why successful clubs stay successful. It happens with football players, the ones who want to bask on what they've done don't do well. It's the ones who go, right, that was yesterday, what we're going to win next, that have, that go on to have those careers. So I think it's the same off the field as well. I think you're right. It's perfectly acceptable, and for a fans group, it's Club 1872 at the moment, you have to be, as a fans group and as a fans rep, the conscience of the club. And if 99 things are correct and you notice the 100th isn't, you have to mention and point out and press for that 100th thing to be fixed. That's your job. That's why you exist. And I mean, for me, I'm personally very surprised that Club 1872 haven't kicked down the door and demanded a place on the board, because I think with 10% of the representation, they've got a more than valid case. But time will tell. As I say, there was encouraging noises made today, but no more than that. It was encouraging noises made about fan representation, but we've been here before. And I think now it's the time for all those people, all those investors, I'm one of them, in Club 1872, to I think the time has come really to have something concrete now, rather than we promise in the future that we might consider doing something. I don't think that washes anymore. No, it doesn't.
That is the closest to a kind of soundbite type thing if they don't follow up pretty quickly on it. The whole, don't worry, we'll get round to that. I remember being disappointed with the board straight away when Chris Graeme was appointed when they first came in, and then obviously very quickly, taken away from that position because of some unfortunate jokes on Twitter. And then, there was this idea, bring Chris Graeme in, there's your kind of supporters rep on the board, great. He gets taken out of the position. He wasn't replaced, really, was he? There was no move. There was no, like, okay, well, that was the idea we had. Sorry about that with this guy, but we'll get someone else in. It was just sort of put by the wayside. So it almost felt like a token gesture in the first place. So the worry is that, by them saying those sort of things that they have today, it's another kind of token gesture. You're right, Club 1872 need to get in there. I think part of the problem for them is that it's still a rather new organisation, still in its infancy. So it has its own issues to kind of get through first. I don't claim to know anything about the politics behind the supporters clubs and trusts over the years and stuff, and I know there seems to be plenty. Anytime someone's name's mentioned, there's big furore over that person or this person. I don't really know enough about it, but they've got to get a better structure in place probably, and make sure if they were to get a place on the board, who's going to kind of lead that process. They probably don't know that at the moment, and that may be why they're not knocking down the door yet, but hopefully it'll be soon, because as we pointed out, it's definitely a strength to have someone nipping at the heels of absolutely everything on behalf of the fans. Definitely. Totally agree, mate. Okay then, folks, one other thing which was pretty major in the life of Heart and Hand is that as you know, we've been trailing for a few weeks. On Wednesday, December the 6th, we launch our subscription service, but people were asking me, can they go and sign up beforehand, and I hadn't made the page live yet. So I thought I would do that on Wednesday.
and the response has been staggering. At recording time, we had 750 subscribers. I cannot thank you enough from the bottom of my heart. Thank you very much for financially backing us and putting your trust in us to deliver good content. So there are some things up there. I'm going to put this show on it just because if people now have downloaded the Patreon app, they'll be able to get everything in one place, or Patreon, or however you pronounce it. I've used about 40 different ones. No one's someone tell me, right, what the correct pronunciation of this fucking thing is. And I'll start using it. Patreon I'm going to go with till I hear different. But so I put a couple of shows up there yesterday just to demonstrate how it works in terms of rapidly getting things up there. This is now the way that I'll be able to do that. And there's going to be, as we've spoken about before, daily updates. We're going to have loads of new shows. We've mentioned the Advocate Years, we've mentioned the Gallant Pioneers, we've mentioned Alex kicks off the debate show against Cammy for the on the topic of whether or not Kenny Miller is a Rangers legend. So those are the first week, but then we've got so many other things in the pilot. Honestly, I mean, that's the tip of the iceberg. It's not going to be those three and nothing else. There's going to be so much more happening on that. And as soon as anything happens, that's the place where stuff will pop up. You'll still get this show, here it is. You'll still get the Monday show. But if you want extra content, that's the place to go. And it will be varied and it will be different. So if you want to sign up, 750 people have already done so. Please go and join them. You can chat away to them in there as well. There's also a facility to sit and have conversations, so that's another bonus of it. You can just go to Patreon, that's Patreon, patreon.com/Heart and Hand, and sign up. And it's $1.99 a month or $3.99 a month. Two different tiers. You pick which one you feel more comfortable with, and obviously you get slightly more stuff in the $3.99 one than you do with the $1.99 one. But it's in dollars to make it cheaper, incidentally. That's the reason we've done it. Some people have said, well, my bank charges if it's in dollars. Well, in that case, use PayPal. But the overall reason that we've done it is most banks don't, and it's cheaper. Therefore, it works out at $150 a month. I mean, I'm giving this away, this stuff. Trust me, it is going to be worth it. I promise you that. So please go and sign up if you like the show and you want to support it. This is the ideal way to do it. You don't have to listen to everything, right? You really don't. It will be worth it just for the Alex versus Cammy confrontation. That trust me is going to be worth it. But the other thing is on Saturday night, Heart and Hand returns for its next live show with one-off new podder Kevin Thompson. So we're very much looking forward to that. And it's been a pretty exciting week in the world of Heart and Hand, and I want to thank you all for listening, for the support, for giving us the opportunity to do all of this, and we hope that you're going to enjoy everything that we've got lined up over the next few months, because there's lots and lots of stuff happening, and I think you will enjoy it. So with that, all that it means for me to do is to thank our executive producer in London, Mr. Knightley and Miss Paul Miles, and to thank the wonderful and very patient and finally allowed to come on and talk about a win, Mr. Alex Staff.
Yeah, thanks for that, David. It's been more than a pleasure. Thank you.
So I'll be back here on Monday with the new pod after our trip to Tawdry, but obviously I'll do the YouTube. Again, please go and subscribe, Heart and Hand YouTube channel, and it is just youtube.com/Heart and Hand podcast in that one. And you'll be able to get the instant reaction to the video. There'll also be something on Patreon, and we'll be back on Monday. My name's David Edgar. Thank you for listening. Bye.